and let us all do we can to build a better future. All right, folks. I keep on telling all of you that the politicians in Washington, D.C. do not like you. They do not think about you. They don't respect you. They are going to bail out the banks. They're going to bail out Wall Street. They're going to bail out the corporations. And you, everyone, boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Z, you are going to be left paying the bill. They don't care if they evict you from your homes and apartments. They don't care if your small business is gone. They don't care about your college aspirations. They don't care if you're fighting a medical ailment. They don't care if you can't buy your prescription drugs. They don't care if you can't buy insulin. They don't care if you can put food on the table or make sure that the bills are paid. They don't like you. They don't think about you. They don't respect you. I want to pull up this tweet video because it's very important. It's from David Sirota. Janet Yellen just told Congress that banks with enough political muscle to win her favor get special government protection that everyone else doesn't get. They're special. So here, it's a 4-minute video, but let's play it so all of you understand that our politicians just don't like you. If you're a voter, if you're a Democratic voter, Republican voter, comment in the comment section below, like, why you really want to be a sucker and vote for the two-party system. Tell me why. And I don't want to hear the excuse of the Democratic Party, the Republican Party represents my values. Listen to this. They don't represent your values.
Start with some of the banking issues we're dealing with on it. Will the deposits in every community bank in Oklahoma, regardless of their size, be fully insured now? Are they fully recovered? Every bank, every community bank in Oklahoma, regardless of the size of the deposit, will they get the same treatment that SVB just got or Signature Bank just got?
A bank only gets that treatment if a majority of the FDIC board, a supermajority of the Fed board, and I, in consultation with the president, determine that the failure to protect uninsured depositors would create systemic risk and significant economic and financial consequences.
So what is your plan?
Made that determination.
That's a lot of words.
Did you hear that? Through that word salad, folks? Lauren, I know you have a comment, so go ahead, take it away.
Oh, I was just saying that is a lot of words to say. Only certain, like, not all the community banks, only very special certain ones in conjunction with me and the president and like the Fed board will decide which certain special banks get these privileges. Like,
exactly.
That was so many words to say, no, screw you.
Yeah, exactly. Word salad. These politicians are perfect with a word salad. It's again,
I'm just like the Honorable Janet L. Yellen. I'm like, okay, the honorable, okay.
What you yelling about, Janet? What you yelling about?
What is your plan to keep large depositors from moving their funds out of community banks into the big banks? We have seen the mergers of banks over the past decade. I'm concerned you're about to accelerate that by encouraging anyone who has a large deposit in a community bank to say, we're not going to make you whole, but if you go to one of our preferred banks, we will make you whole at that point.
Look, I mean, that's
okay.
She can't even like answer that question. Like, that was a very straightforward question. He's like, because like, okay, look, community banks are so important. Like, they're incredibly important. And honestly, and like credit unions and community banks are really, really important. And I really do feel like people should definitely go kind of more for that sort of general direction, especially credit unions.
Credit unions and community banks, folks. These larger banks,
so good. And then the larger banks come in and just swallowing up everything. And he's asking such a legitimate question here, and she doesn't even know how to respond.
She knows how to respond. Wendy Carballo, the honorable and courageous White House counselor, writes, she can answer it, just doesn't want to admit that that's the plan. That's the plan.
Because if
That's
she
the
admits
point.
because he asked her if that's the plan, and yeah, of course it's the plan. She just has to figure out a way to say, like, I don't understand how she came into this particular briefing and didn't already have an answer for that
Hold on,
prepped, because obviously,
let's actually watch her struggle with that answer. Let's actually watch her struggle, because this is how you could tell someone's is not an honest person when they're like, they look around and start stuttering. She should have been ready.
Deposit in a community bank to say, we're not going to make you whole, but if you go to one of our preferred banks, we will make you whole at that point.
Well, I mean, that's certainly not something that we're encouraging.
oh,
That
well,
is happening right
well, like
now.
I said, but like, well, I mean, well, that's not something that we're encouraging. It's something that they're ensuring, though, isn't it?
Yes, they are.
That is happening because depositors are concerned about the bank failures that have happened and whether or not other banks could also
No, it's
fail.
happening
And
because you're
it's-
fully insured no matter what the amount is. If you're in a big bank, you're not fully insured if you're in a community bank.
Well, you're not fully insured. And
You
the
you
big-
were at Signature, and
the
it
big-
just barely met that threshold. You were at Signature.
He's so calm. I like this guy. He's just like, no.
Wait. He's like any other politician. Sometimes a politician can occasionally do the right thing. A broken clock is right
Mr. Lakeford.
twice a day.
Well, I mean, like, is he a politician, or is he the like in charge of banking or something? Because he was talking about his banks in Oklahoma. So is he like I mean, he's obviously a rich guy, but like, is he a politician, or is he just in like a banker? Like, who is that?
Okay, let's actually go ahead and find out who that is.
Because I'm not entirely sure who that is,
Well,
if he's a politician or not, because but whatever
Felt
his
that there
job
was-
is,
Yeah.
he
Let-
seems to be
Let me
trying to protect people.
let me go ahead and rewind it, and we'll play the rest of the
It's
video.
happening
And
because you're
it's-
fully insured no matter what the amount is. If you're in a big bank, you're not fully insured if you're in a community bank.
Well, you're not fully insured. And
You
the
you
big-
were at Signature, and it just barely met that threshold. You
Senator
were at
James Lankford, Republican from Oklahoma.
Okay.
we felt that there was a serious risk of contagion that could have brought down and triggered runs on many banks. And that's something, given that our judgment is that the banking system overall is safe and sound, depositors should have confidence in the system, and we took these actions.
So there's a
to
special
discourage
assessment that's been done
contagion.
on community banks in my state and all banks across the country. Was there any discussion that special assessment would only apply to the larger banks, or was it always assumed the special assessment would cover every bank, including rural banks in my state?
I think
And the thing is, here's the thing, not defending a Republican politician, but he brings up a good point. A lot of those rural banks are fundamentally important to the communities.
Yeah.
All right. Like, so, hey, folks, I know in major metropolitan cities like here in Chicago, occasionally we see a Bank of America, Chase Bank around every corner here and there. Most small towns in America don't even have that. That's a real reality that a lot of Americans have to face with. So, it's kind of important that these community banks remain solvent and are still protected too.
I'm not certain what the rules are around that.
You should know what the rules are. What are you yelling about, Janet?
That's for the FDIC to determine.
It has been reported publicly that SVB had a large number of Chinese investors that are there, including some that were companies directly connected to the Chinese Communist Party. Will those individuals, companies, entities, and investors that are Chinese investors be made whole based on assessments in my banks in Oklahoma? So what I'm asking is, will my banks in Oklahoma pay a special assessment to be able to make Chinese investors whole from Silicon Valley Bank?
Uninsured investors will be made whole in that bank.
No.
And I suppose that could include foreign depositors, but I don't believe there's any legal basis to discriminate among uninsured.
I get it, but
That's
I'm
not what
just
he was
saying my
asking.
community banks
Again, word salad, word salad. Make a lot of words and don't answer the question.
are going to pay this additional fee. It is always fascinating to me as well, the conversation that taxpayers are being made whole in this, that taxpayers are not going to have any kind of consequence on this. I'm sure my bankers are going to be very excited to know they no longer pay taxes.
See, like, again, I probably disagree with that man on every other point that he's ever made in his life, but like in this, I'm like, he's making some salient points,
Yes,
and
he is.
he is just diving right into the meat of the matter. She's not answering anything, but he's not letting her get away with it. And like, he's like, so to rephrase, I love that he rephrases everything she said really succinctly. Like, okay, that's what you're going to tell me. This is what you just said. That's true. And she's like, because it is. Like, it's like, again, I probably disagree with that man on every other decision he's ever made in his life. But in this case, it's like, yeah, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
And unfortunately, folks, the way the media has been describing this entire economic disaster, because first I switched up the videos, but I want to play this video now because listen to Senator Bill Cassidy, who voted to deregulate Dodd-Frank in 2018, doesn't blame his vote on the SVB crisis, the Silicon Valley Bank. That's SVB. It seems to be more failure of regulators, not regulation. So let's listen to what this jagoff has to say, because it's not his fault.
no, nothing could be his fault.
I mean, I'm a politician. What? I did it. I'm the murderer. I have the bloody knife in my hand. What?
If you look at what FDIC kind of should have been doing, or the regulators should have been doing, they clearly weren't doing it. Folks wonder, do we need more regulation? I'd say I'm not sure it's a problem with the regulation. It might be a problem with the regulator. That'll be thoroughly explored, and I will be asking about Social Security because I think everybody would have exhausted the bank topic by the time they get to me.
Yeah, we do want to talk about Social Security, but when you just talked about regulation there, you did vote in 2018 on the rollback of some of those regulations.
Republican senator from the state of Louisiana. Look, here he is. He's got that smile like, oh, damn it. Here come the actions of my vote coming back to haunt me.
Here come the consequence. Here come the consequence of my actions now. Save me from this consequence. Save me from the consequences of my actions now. Remember that vine? That was a fun little vine. It's like, but that's like every single time like they talk about this, I'm like, I just think about that video of the Deadpool running away, singing the "Here Come the Consequences" song, and Captain America just like bearing down behind him. Just like, yes. That's what's happening.
We've heard some Democrats blaming that, saying that is part of what contributed to what happened with SVB. Do you stand by that vote?
Imagine that, a Democrat blaming a Republican when it's a Democratic administration which is asleep at the switch. Never heard that before, have you?
Yeah, but guess what? You and your fantastic friends in both the Democratic and Republican Party voted for it. So guess what?
Yeah, you're the ones who set it up. You're the ones
you set it up. You set it up.
It's like, and like, I love that because, again, we talk about this all the time. It's like, yeah, like this happened, but it is the Democrats who are in charge at the time. But like, yeah, but in so many of these cases, like in this one, like with the train, like the deregulations, all of that happened under a Republican administration, and it's happening. If the dominoes were set into place and knocked by a Republican by a Republican administration, and now he's trying to turn it around. And I'm sorry, dude, in this particular case, yeah, sure, maybe the Democrats are asleep at the wheel, but you are the one who put sleeping powder in their coffee. Like,
there you go. I mean, but then again, too, there were a lot of Democratic lawmakers that voted to deregulate Dodd-Frank. And gee, under Glass-Steagall, oh yeah, that was gotten rid of under the Bill Clinton administration. So there you go.
If you look at, I stand by that vote.
It's a vote, yeah.
I stand by that vote.
Even though it loosened the oversight when it comes to the banks of this size.
It was not about oversight. What it said is that the regulators have the option, instead of every year doing a stress test, it wouldn't be mandatory, it would be optional. Now, if you look at publicly traded, you look at Wall Street. Wall Street looked at this bank
Yeah, you know what he is. He's a politician and he's a liar. So like, no, your facts are wrong. Listen to my lies. As once again I give you a word salad.
Listen
Back
to
in
my
December,
alternative facts.
saw that their assets were in long-term, low-interest yielding bonds, and that their liabilities were rapidly going up. And Jerome Powell was saying over and over and over again, we're going to raise interest rates. Now, the regulators should have stepped in, and they should have said, wait a second, we've got low yield assets and we've got a high yield liability. We've got a problem. Wall Street said that. I'm told that people sold the stock short and made hundreds of millions of dollars. So Wall Street gets it, but the regulators don't. Secondly, the
Wall Street gets it, folk. They get it how to screw you up the wazoo.
Also,
up
that
the
was
wazoo.
incredibly patronizing. Like,
Yes.
Secondly, like pointing
Secondly.
in her face. It's like, dude.
Hey, you know what? I mean, then again, you know, I kind of feel sorry for her. She works at CNN and she has to deal with all these jagoff politicians. It's probably a never-ending nightmare.
value of the bank skyrocketed. And as it skyrocketed, that I'm told should have been a warning, a red flag for the regulators to step in and say, bank's exploding in value. Is there some bubble taking place within the bank? They did not do that either. So I think there's a lot of things that you can look at that a wise regulator would have said, this is not good.
So you have a lot of questions for the bank, for the regulators and the people who are supposed to be in charge. There's also people running the bank. But when it comes to that legislation, if some Democrats, if they're moving to maybe reinstate those regulations, you're saying you don't think that's effective?
You know, we have a saying, I'm a doctor, we have a saying in medicine, don't just do something, think. So Washington sees something happen, it's you know, we got to do something. No, you've got to think through the process. Is what we're doing going to be productive? Were the rules in place adequate but just poorly enforced? And now, if it turns out we need more regulations, then do more regulations. But don't just kind of reflexively do something before you know what happened.
Okay, but you are open to potentially doing that once you look into what went wrong here.
Yes, but I will say at this point, it seems more failure of regulators, not of regulation.
I feel like we do know. Don't we know what happened though? Like
we know what happened.
We know what happened.
The banks were freaking screwing around like they did in 2008, just like Wall Street was doing. They're all doing the same thing like they did in 2008. And the thing is, again, it's real easy for people to say, oh, it's the Republicans' fault or it's a Democrat's fault. But the thing is, again, it's both parties. And Glass-Steagall was removed under a Democratic presidential administration. You know him, you love him, Bill Clinton. That's the thing. And now here's another video from CNN. I know, CNN. Where they're discussing how the rich guy gets protected while the average American gets screwed. Yeah. See, the laws of the land don't apply to the rich. See, a rich person can basically get bailed out for crimes that if you did it, I'm talking to you, did it, man, you're never seeing the light of day ever again.
Nope.
Never seeing the light of day ever again, folks. You better believe that. So here, let's play this video. Shout out again to Case Study QB, who's wrongly being censored on Twitter. He does a lot of great work. Let's play this video.
So I hesitate to use the word bailout here, but I can't think of anything else. So with First Republic being bailed out by the big banks and the investors at SVB having their deposits guaranteed by the federal government, what's like the average American supposed to take away from this?
The average American should take away is, hey, I've done the right thing my entire life, but these rich billionaires who have bought our politicians can basically get away with murder. Mm-hmm. So that my fellow Americans, it doesn't matter who you voted for. Hold on, someone should be playing a patriotic song in the background. Hold on, let's start again. Wibbly wobbly, timely wobbly. My fellow Americans, it doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter what your values are. Know this, that no matter who sits in the White House or is in the Senate, it doesn't matter because you are going to get screwed over. The politicians are owned by the corporations and the banks. Do you understand me now? You don't have a seat at the table. It's one big club and you ain't in it. I'm so sorry you're finding this out now. I am so sorry. There you go.
As they see the price of everything go up. They get impacted directly by one thing or the other. Do you think there's the perception that the rich guys get protected and the average American, gets screwed?
I think that perception and that discomfort is warranted. But look, the reality is in the last 10 years, 73 banks have failed. And of the 73, 72 have had their deposits backstopped. And I actually think it might be 73. I couldn't find information on the 73rd.
I couldn't find the information, but I think they got their stuff back.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea, but maybe.
Hey, Sunflowers, Wendy Carballo, Gamer for Life, Bad Cookies, everyone else in the live stream chat, Gamer for Life, everyone, Miguel H. Hey, yeah, I might have stole stuff from your house, but I think a few months ago I returned it back. It's all good. I'm still missing my couch. Dude, where's my beer? I think you stole $500 out of my wallet.
If this was the first agricultural bank of Iowa, the public wouldn't have a problem with it. What the public has a problem with is that Silicon Valley's brand has come to represent a group of individuals who are very talented, who capture all of the upside from the risks they're taking and externalize the downside of some of these risks to our teenage daughters or to young men who have investment apps gamified or to ride-hailing companies that have massive amounts of capital that they invest in legislation to cede power from labor to capital. So it's what you have is this brand where they're full-throated capitalists on the way up and socialists on the way down. It's sort of like this part-time libertarianism that I think the American public is correctly sort of gagging on.
Yeah, we're all gagging on it. Yeah, horrible choice of words, by the way. Horrible choice of words. But, there's always consequences in regards.
He was trying to be evocative.
Yeah, possibly. But the thing is, with this potential economic collapse that we are probably seeing, because not one, but 3 banks failed in this month alone, folks, that should be raising the alarms. Something's going on. Listen to this one, because this is also going to affect employment here in America. Shout out to Case Study QB who found this little gem. The quote on this tweet: "You need to get the unemployment rate up. You need to get the unemployment rate up. You need to get the unemployment rate up. Not to only keep prices down, but also tame wage inflation." What? What am I talking about? Here, listen to this little tweet. On Easy Street. On Fox Business Live, of all places.
We've had bank failures before. In fact, we've had a long stretch of no bank failures. And that's actually quite unusual, probably in part because rates stayed too low for way too long. So absolutely, you need to get the unemployment rate up. You need to put some slack into the economy, not just to keep prices down, but also to tame wage inflation on a sustained basis. There's nothing worse than ingrained inflation in an economy. All you have to do is go back and look at what happened in the late 60s and the 1970s.
So in other words, get the unemployment rate up. Unemployment rate means people don't have a job. People are broke. BROKE. Does that mean the U.S. government's on board for stimulus checks? Livable stimulus checks? No, probably not. Probably not. So in other words, folks, we're all going to get screwed over. Screwed over again.
Yep.
Lauren, final comment for this segment.
It's just again, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and everyone loves capitalism while they're rich. And then as soon as something bad happens, they're like, well, how about money for me? I hate socialists, but bail me out. I'm rich. And then it just and then of course, taxpayer money often goes towards making those bailouts happen. And it's just everyone hates socialists until they need money, at which point they're like, hey, I don't want to put any of my money into this. Or their money's tied up into investments or something, so they can't. But it's just everything about our system is designed to screw over anybody who's not in the 1%. And if you think you're in the 1%, you're not.
Nope. No,
I'm sorry. You think you might be in the 1% or even the 10%. You might be in the 70 or 80%. You are not in the 1%. You're there's so many people now these days who think that they're middle class America or they're upper middle class. I'm one, there's basically no such thing as the upper middle class anymore. It is gone.
That is gone.
It's like, no, I'm sorry. So people who are like worried about like certain tax breaks, it's like, it's not going to affect you. Like it's not. You are not in that bracket. You have never even sniffed that bracket. Like, I'm sorry, you're not there. Like,
Nope.
and everything in our system is designed to make that gap wider.
Exactly. So I want to add in a commentary from Roger Meadows. He tipped $2 on YouTube, and he also gave us some Rockfin super chats, and we'll end it right there. Roger Meadows tipped $2. Make people unemployed. Okay, let's start with her, being the woman saying you got to raise the unemployment rates. But then also Roger Meadows on Rockfin. Thank you so much for the additional Rockfin super chats. Public banks act as an alternative insurer for and encourages citizens to bank with their local credit unions and community banks by serving as their SDIC if state public bank or municipal public banks are opposed to the FDIC, where the feds through the FDIC insures up to $250,000 in losses for depositors who might have lost their money in bank closing due to the run of the banks caused by a 1929/2008 style banking crisis. A public bank can go further in insuring more of what credit union and community bank depositors might have lost in a similar financial crisis going beyond the $250K limit insured by the FDIC. Whether it'll be insuring all the way up to $1 million or $10 million more, this incentivizes credit unions and community banks to bank with them instead of the big banks on Wall Street, since the Bank of North Dakota is an issuer for community banks and credit unions. North Dakota has more local community banks and credit unions per capita than any other state in the country, and none of them failed during the 2008 subprime mortgage financial crisis. People, now is the time to file a citizen ballot initiative for public banks as an amendment, not a law. State of Oklahoma, where that congressman is from, has the ability to do as well, if so concerned to do it. I'm through with these regulations. Bring back Glass-Steagall. I'm through with these regulations, bringing back Glass-Steagall and talking about antitrust enforcement. No, been there, done that. If you wish to reinstate anything, reinstate postal banking and charter a network of public banks throughout the United States at municipal, state, regional, state level, U.S. regional, and national infrastructure bank. But most importantly, start revoking corporate charters of these banks. Roger Meadows, speaking truth to power. If you're not following him on Twitter, please do so.